Hi, everybody. This is CC and JT from the CC and JT Amateur Hour, but today we're wearing a Nevada Author Network hat. The Nevada Author Network is a collaboration or a partnership between the Sierra Arts Foundation out of Reno, Nevada, and Two More Books, LLC, our company, to highlight the literary artists here in Northern Nevada. And it's been a wonderful journey. We've had so many excellent writers on our little podcast here. We're welcoming Nikolai. Nikolai, if you could please introduce yourself and introduce your works.
Hello, everyone. I am Nikolai Wisekal. I have been writing since I was a teen. I started seriously pursuing publishing at 28. I'm currently 35. Since then, I've written quite a few freebie shorts that I like, that some are holiday themed. And my main two works that are available through me are Galaxy Waffles, a sci-fi adventure that I like to call a comedic corporate dystopia, and The Right to Rule. It's a sword and sorcery novella where a warrior, a queen, and a god all have different goals and come together.
And I gotta admit, I gotta say this right up front. We've done several of these on both of our podcasts, and every once in a while, a writer will come across, and I'll be just saying, "Gosh, I wish I had done that." And I gotta tell you, when I saw Galaxy Waffles,
That was a great title.
that's a great
Thank you.
title. Where did that come from?
Well, it's one of my favorite stories to tell. So my wife and I had just been organizing our storage unit that had been broken into for the second time.
Mm-hmm.
We were both exhausted, strung out, hadn't eaten for several hours. We went to a Waffle House. And because at the time we were living in Dallas, and they're everywhere. And I'm sitting and I'm looking around, all the interesting people, all the employees, the good food, everything. And I'm like, this would be a fantastic setting for a sci-fi story. And from there, Galaxy Waffles was born. And from there, I was influenced by things like Futurama, Red Dwarf, Hitchhiker's Guide, and just so many classic and awesome sci-fi series, because I feel like a lot of sci-fi focuses so much on large-scale events that there has been a lack of character-driven sci-fi. So in this world where there's tiered citizenship and there's restrictions on AI rights and all these other factors, I wanted to focus on a group that was just trying to fight to stay together while the system tries to break them apart. So I combined a real-world setting with some of my favorite things about the genre.
Well, that's amazing because we took a trip last year and went to our first Waffle House. So I can just, as you were explaining that, picture that setting. And it does sound like you put a lot of thought into the setting of the story. Is that something that you tend to do in a lot of your writing?
I actually used to suffer from chronic world building. And what I mean is, at a certain point, I realized, oh wait, I'm world building more than I'm writing prose. So I love constructing the world, but I've also learned to curb the habit, because if you build too much, you start cornering yourself on when should I use this or that. And so the focus becomes on the mechanics and trivia of the world versus the characters.
Now, your sci-fi is character-driven, and I've written a series that's character-driven. So I'm going to say for something here, and I want you either to agree strongly or push back strongly.
Okay.
That another challenge with sci-fi today is people get caught up in the lingo. Star Trek: The Next Generation. Though I
Yeah,
bet you knew when I said TNG, I bet you knew what I was saying.
I very much did.
Is and the subsequent series very famous for technobabble. So what I did is I also did a sci-fi series, and what I said is I'm character-driven because I believe the technobabble creates a gulf between the reader and the writer. What's your feeling on that?
I completely agree with you. The moment you start introducing technobabble, you either have to use it, like they do in TNG, or it's a one-off and it sticks out like a sore thumb in your plot. So I think that might be part of the reason why it creates that gulf, because you use it once, then you feel obligated to use it again and again. The way I try to balance this is, whenever I introduce something technical, it has an active role in what my characters are doing and deciding. For instance, biotech is what I call bodily and augments, like Jolene's HUD display. Whenever she looks at something, she has the ability to scan it. So I use it as a window into the world and a quick way to drop world building on something scene relevant. For instance, in the first few chapters, the diner gets broken into because they kicked two customers out, and those two customers decided they wanted to get back at them. She looks around a corner and her HUD analyzes the weapon and she gets a breakdown. So for me, I think that helps bridge the gulf, because if you're just throwing terminology for the sake of sounding sci-fi,
Hmm.
why would
Yep,
Right.
that's exactly what I feel about TNG and the subsequent Star Treks. Is after a while, it's like they threw out that techno bubble, but I don't know if they realized at the same time they were shrinking their audience, because after a while, that becomes exhausting.
it is? I think where they really shine without it is DS9.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And have you seen Lower Decks yet?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, it's
Oh
great.
yes, yes. It humanizes the Federation so much, because I feel like one of the criticisms TNG gets is that it presents a very stale, uptight vision of what being human is. And Lower Decks, yeah, it feels relatable. It feels more real.
Yes.
so you are obviously like us. You've been enjoying these types of science fiction for many, many years. Would you say that that is some of the inspiration for your stories, or do you have other forms of inspiration?
Definitely some in my sources of inspiration are completely random. Perfect example, my book on Patreon that I'm working on right now, Scales and Pages. Just yesterday, for no reason at all, started thinking, what do I call groups of dragons? And so, let me just pull that up on my phone real quick so that I can give you all some examples. Since this is for writers, a little tip, the Messenger app, you can send messages to yourself. Audio, video,
Hmm.
text. It's basically like having a dictaphone, and you can search. If you enter terms, you can search for what you entered, and you're good. But getting back to what I was doing, groups of dragons by elements: fire, an explosion of dragons; water, a flood of dragons; earthquake would be a group of earth dragons, and so on and so forth. And it's just so some of it is deliberately influenced, like the comedy of Galaxy Waffles. Multiple instances. Actually, there's one Looney Tunes reference,
That's cool.
and it was fun, and that's a lot of fun. A lot of people have caught that, and I'm proud of that one. So yeah, I think we can both agree that there is no such thing as originality. Everyone takes themes, ideas, characters from everyone else. What matters is our interpretation.
So while we're on Scales and Pages,
Uh-huh.
before we ask you to read from it, because I'm really actually looking forward to that.
Okay.
Let's talk about the technical aspect of releasing over Patreon. Now, we're not going
Right.
to ask about subscribers or anything like that. That's
Okay.
that's that's your business. But what we are curious, what drove that decision to go to Patreon?
Well, I was originally part of Kindle Vella, which, do you guys know anything about it? Well, after Amazon finally put it out of its misery, I'll just be that blunt about it, because at a certain point it was just ridiculous how little support and how much and little development and little communication they were doing. I needed some place to go where I could host content that would not get lost in something like the Facebook feed, because I do have a Facebook group. The problem is that I would get comments and reactions to something that was significant in the moment, like, say, a voting poll, and then people would say, like, oh, I only saw it 2 or 3 weeks later after it already closed. So Patreon just made sense to me as a more tightly controlled atmosphere to restart, because I'd spent all 3 years of Kindle Vella writing in a serial format. And so I was like, this is the most productive I've ever been with my writing. I don't want to lose it. So I need to make my own space where I could potentially keep it going.
Excellent, excellent.
That's very cool. So, based on the fact that you've been doing serialized writing, do you find that that kind of I guess it would be immersive because people are reading it as you go along. Do you find that seems to appeal to readers, or do you think it's maybe a little bit off-putting?
To American readers, off putting. That was probably the biggest struggle every Vela writer, no matter how successful or spotlighted, struggled with. The American reader mindset is, I want the whole story all at once. Serial storytelling is literally from the ground up, pieces at a time. So unless you have something that is mostly done, that was the most common reaction I got was, oh, I'll just wait for the full thing. Which, as far as pitching goes, I mean, I can maybe come back and say, well, the first 3 are free. Maybe check it out and see if you want to come back to it later. It's a very soft and underselling sort of approach that add to the fact that, and yes, this is a personal gripe with me, Kindle Vella, when they were asked about promoting the writers on the platform, the leader of it basically said, well, they can use their social media, their newsletter subscriptions and everything. I'm like, so wait a minute, we're creating your content, we are your marketing department. You are literally barely providing a functional digital interface, and you're not planning on doing anything else?
Right.
Yeah, no, it was things like that that really soured me on it. Basically, they wanted to put in as little effort as possible, and it showed because how difficult would it have been to have a message sent out about changes happening?
Right.
Yeah, because I really do not want to dwell on this too much. I feel like I've already dwelt on it too much, but yeah. So what I really liked about Patreon is the amount of control it offers as to whether or not I'll stay there for the future. It honestly depends on if feedback from readers, the fees that they deduct, and if I feel like there's better opportunities for growth.
Yeah, as you should, because writing is not only a creative endeavor, it's a business endeavor. And so what it is you're running a business.
I will push back on you just a tiny bit there. It's the
Okay.
publishing. Publishing is the business side of things. Writing does
Hmm.
not have to be. Actually, it's one of my pieces of advice I give to new writers. You have to decide if you just want to write creatively or if you want to publish. Because once you decide on that forked path, you can then make more informed decisions. Because if you're just writing for creativity, your cover art, your blurb, it'd be nice to have, but it's completely non essential. You could essentially just go to FedEx, print out your manuscript, and maybe share it to some people, and you're done. And there's nothing wrong with that. Publishing, however, does have expectations, does have demands, and is a promise between a business and a reader.
That's a great point because we went more official with our writing this year, and there has
Oh,
been a lot more
congratulations.
pressure. Thank you. Prior to that, we were just self-publishing. We were doing mostly ebooks. So you do make a very good point that in the business aspect of publishing really does change how you write, I think, because
Yeah.
if you're just writing for yourself or your family, then I think sometimes it's more enjoyable that way.
Oh, yeah, no, the creative freedom it offers, the lack of deadlines, and the lack of reader expectation is very freeing. That does not mean, but the odds of writing a bestseller or reaching as many eyes as possible, virtually nil. Every choice, like every other choice in life, there's pros and cons. Like indie versus trad, we could make an entire episode about that.
So let's shift back to Scales and Pages. Tell
Sure.
us about the genesis of Scales and Pages, and as you offered before, if you could read us a little bit from it, that would.
So I was part of a Facebook, I think I'm still part of it, the Magical Hidden Gems Facebook group. One of the leaders made a post saying she wanted a story about a dragon librarian. I commented on it. I fell in love with the idea immediately. I love books. I love dragons. Combining the two just seemed perfectly natural. So we started commenting. So the comment thread got huge on this, to the point where we actually set up a chat in the group. And originally, I envisioned it as a kind of anthology produced by the Facebook group. However, there were disagreements, specifically on the business side. Creatively, it was like magic in a bottle. I have never had a group think that supportive and that fluid and that just kept bringing things together. On the business side, the logic that the majority of the chat used was post it for free and people will go to your other works. The challenge with that mentality is, do you only write in that genre? So if people go looking for your other work, do you have more to offer? Or if it's just that one, they'll probably move on. Two, just because someone clicks on something doesn't mean they're going all the way to your store page or any place where you could potentially monetize. Click-through rate it can't be counted on. And lastly, I did not want to start another project with the mentality of just give it away. Like, I'm perfectly fine with short stories and even novellas because they're shorter and easier works to construct. However, if I'm going to be doing a full-blown anthology, I do want to be able to hire artists, to hire formatters, or invest in the tools that I need to achieve this. And you can't do that when something is completely free. So we had an amicable parting of the ways. I kept the title, my character name, and since then I've been posting it on Patreon. The first story is still freely available. It's called The Likely Thief, and here is page 1. All right. They are the sand, we are the glass, but time is the only true immortal. Faustus remembered his mother's words rumbling through his shell. From hatchling to youth he'd witnessed their weighty truth in many forms, a fallen friend, an enemy slain, nation saved, discoveries made. Every memorial raised to them slowly crumbling with age. All their legacies fade from the world's memory, but remain crystal clear to him. Centuries of these moments awoke a draconic instinct to hoard the stories of the world. Decades of effort and mountains of gold spent had filled his distant mountain cavern with tomes on every subject. With careful claws, he'd carved smooth shelves into the walls. With spells, he'd formed round stone stages where his favorites were always at hand to read. Over time, the scents of aged parchment and inks soaked the cavern stone. A glorious collection that faced threats only magic could stop. For years, he'd waged war on molds, rats, mites, and damp. Every victory was bittersweet. For every 10 books saved, one would always slip through his claws. He mourned each one, vowing to find a solution. Reading and rereading his many grimoires inspired a plan to create an immortal masterpiece. For weeks he'd worked his claws and magics in gentle harmony on a gemstone matching his deep sapphire scales. Coiled around his steel workstation, wings itched to feel the wind under them. He flapped them once, sending a gust that echoed off the walls. And we've actually slipped over to page 2, so I'll just stop there.
No, that was
That's
great.
amazing.
That was great.
Thank
If you ever consider doing audiobooks, you have the voice for your book. So
Well, thank you very much. Actually, that's a perfect segue. These are available as audio-sodes.
Oh,
Both on Patreon. I originally had them for sale, but I realized I was going to emulate other successful story-based series like the Magnus Archives. I'm releasing them earlier on Patreon, but they will be uploading to YouTube from now on. So stories 1 and 2 are available. Narrator, his name is Adam Watson. He does a tremendous job at bringing Valsis and the world to life.
well, you have obviously put a lot of thought into the detail of the world, especially the library aspect of it. As somebody who
Thank you.
worked at the library and archives, that really resonates with me because I love libraries and I love, books and records and things like that. So the images that you created were just amazing.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to hear that. If you want, I can try to ad-lib some of the descriptions of the Gemstone Library as well.
Oh, that would be cool.
So the idea came from that Facebook prompt. So I came up with the idea that every facet on a gemstone could be a different section of the library. Inside, you'll find deep blue surfaces, shelves carved from sapphire, silver enamel labeling different aisles, and pale silver witch lights.
That's awesome. Do you
Thank you.
have, you have this done through the written word. Do you have any visuals to go along with this? Have you done any art to go along with your stories?
Not yet. There is a plan for it. The issue is pretty much just financial and timing, because Galaxy Waffles has tons of character art that I am very proud of, that I used my Kindle Vellum money for. And just as a quick tip for writers that may be watching this, if you do commission art, think of it not just as bringing something to life in your story. Think of it as marketing material. Think of it as potential stickers. Think of it as potential. I think they're called book, not cover. Nah, it's like a little poster of art. I know
Oh, right.
book
Collage?
plate.
Bookplate, yes.
oh,
Yeah, book plates. If you're going to invest in art, make sure that you make sure that you're thinking of it in all the ways it could be useful. So one
Well,
of
I
the
did
things.
notice that on your website you have a link to, I think it's Redbubble.
Yep,
Is
that
that the
is
site where your merch is at? And is that something that you would recommend
recommend
Red.
to other writers to
to
use
use a site like that?
I think yes and no. Yes, because it's a good experience to set up a shop and itemize, manage, and customize. It taught me a lot of skills. Redbubble follows a mindset of we pay you out once you reach a certain threshold. And what a lot of writers, myself included, struggle with is marketing just our books. Forget about any secondary content. So, yeah, is it nice to have in place? Yes. But if you're asking me, should someone spend their time and energy on it? Depends on how much they have. Some people have like supernovas that they can do 20 tasks in one day. Some people have two. So make your best judgment call based on what you know about yourself.
That's great advice.
Thank you.
So let's wrap this up about with our common experience, because we both, the three of us, were all at the same book fest, the Sierra Arts Foundation Book Fest in October,
It's
or as I
mid-October.
call it, the first day of winter, because
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty gosh darn cold. And you should be patting yourself on the back because you had the most financial success of all the writers that were there. So hey, good for you. So all of the writers in the rest of the world want to know, what did you do that got that kind of attention to your table?
Well, having a visually easy to read table is one thing. I've observed the least successful people, because I've been to a wide variety of events with my wife, who I helped vend her products. Never hide yourself. If people don't see a person or your face or anything, they'll walk on by, because more often than not, these days especially, people are not buying a story if you're not well known. They're buying it from you, the person. So you have to be present. You have to be engaging. And for me, one of the easiest draws that I used was, what genre do you read? Or what's your favorite genre? I started a conversation with almost every passerby, and more often than not, they came around, and from that, sales happened. So be visible, be engaging, and know how to describe your book quickly. I know it's not something that a lot of writers practice, but your pitch, your elevator pitch, your comp titles, and just try to channel the enthusiasm you had while writing it into describing it, because people will resonate with that.
Excellent,
No, that's
I
great advice.
excellent.
I
Okay,
also
okay. I'm sorry.
just
Go ahead.
no, just one last thing to add on. I did type up all this stuff in a document that I share with fellow writers. So if you'd like me to download that and send it to you, you can include it with your post so people can have their own Word document on hand that they can customize as they see fit.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, please do that, because this is a podcast in theory for to learn the uh, the,
Art and craft of
the art
writing.
and craft of writing.
Right.
So, Nikolai, let's wrap this up by you telling us your website and your preferred social media. Where can we find you? And of course, equally important, where can we find your books?
NikolaiWisekal.com is my website. I can be found on Facebook, TikTok, and Patreon. If you want a more in-depth conversation, I would recommend Facebook or Patreon. I also have my email available, and at all of them, that's also available. My books are available through most online retailers, Amazon obviously, other both US based and internationally based. You can find most of these through my link tree, which should be attached to every place that I just mentioned.
That's awesome. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. This has been a fascinating discussion. And again, we congratulate you on the success, at least this year, Arts Foundation Book Fest, which
Thank you very much.
I think we all enjoyed it, even
Yeah.
though the weather was a little bit iffy.
Did not enjoy almost having our tent blown away, but other than that,
Right.
that once
Yeah.
things settled,
Yeah,
It was
was
nice.
it was a
it
great
was
time.
Yeah.
okay. So we've had Nikolai Wise. Oh, I knew I was going to mess.
Wisekal.
I knew I was going to mess that up.
It's all
You're fine.
right. It's all right. I've had distant family members misspell it on Christmas gifts. You're fine.
Oh my gosh.
So we've had Nikolai here on the Nevada Author Network, which, as I said, is a collaboration between the Sierra Arts Foundation, the Sierra Arts Literary Community, and two more books to highlight the literary artists here in Northern Nevada. All of us are doing our best to do fantastic work, and you can check us out at our website at twomorebooks.com. Thank you, Nikolai, for coming on board.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.